I'm not up here by myself, Pastor posted on Facebook who was going to get up and talk today. And there were, crickets. Nobody said anything. And so at the end of the day, I texted him. And I said, did anybody volunteer? And he said, yeah. He says, Tom did. And he goes, but you can be up there if you want. And I go, okay, because better than being up here alone. So I was going to volunteer anyway. So now we got Karen plus Tom. So and Tom, he said, what are we going to talk about? But he said that he had been thinking about compassion all week long. So, did you want to read the compassion definition? Okay.
Definition of compassion: sympathetic. Sympathetic and concerned, often the sufferings in the misfortune of others.
You guys gotta hold on to it first.
Okay, let me read it. I wrote it, that's why she can't read. Okay, it's sympathetic pity, but although we didn't like the word pity, and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. And I thought compassion is one of God's biggest characteristics. And so, and I found a verse, so I'm going to read. Psalms 86:15 says, but thou, O Lord, art a God full of compassion and gracious, long-suffering, and plenteous in mercy and truth. So, on compassion, I'm going to say, a couple weeks ago, Karen said she had a, trigger finger. Well, I had a trigger finger a while back, but it didn't hurt like hers, but I didn't find out until after. I walked up to her and I pulled on her finger and she went down to the ground. And so I ended up going down to the ground with her. It's like apologizing over and over. So that was a lot of compassion right there for her.
Amen.
And then compassion, as far as God goes, 5 years ago I found out that I had breast cancer. And I went to my appointment by myself, and I shouldn't have, because it turned out that I had it. So on my way, I was driving Enchanted Way going back to Albany, and I was crying so hard, which I'm glad I was on the side road, not the freeway. But anyway, at that moment, I turned on the radio, and this is how God worked. The song, I'm going to read it because I won't remember all the words. Just Be Held by Casting Crowns.
Oh, wow.
So when I turned the radio on, I heard these words. You're not alone, stop holding on, and just be held. Your world's not falling apart, it's falling into place.
Amen.
A peace came over me, and I knew that that was God, full of compassion. And it helped me so much, so I listen to these songs every day while I'm working. Plus it keeps my focus on Him. And Mr. So anyway, if any of you have any compassion stories or a song or something has touched you in the time that you needed it, you're more than welcome to speak.
That's compassion right there.
She's running away.
Oh.
Love you, Karen.
Love you, sis.
All right.
You know what?
No. Never mind. So, for me, the way this came about was during the last week, you see Dale's posts on Facebook or other people's posts on Facebook. Compassion kept coming up over and over. Big ways, little ways, but anyway, so I'm looking at the word compassion, and a root word in there is compass. And I thought, man, if you have a compass, you can find your way back from anywhere, right? Or find your way to anywhere, all over the world. And compassion can be shown all over the world, day in and day out, right? we have I think this body of Christ has a lot of compassion.
Yes.
We see it on a daily here, and I think sometimes it gets beat up though. You know, we have people who put their hearts into everything, and then they get hurt, and then their compassion kind of slips a little bit, and they don't. It has to be replenished, and how do they do that? They do that through prayer and the Bible and coming to church, right? Hanging out with people. That to reaffirm that what we're doing is the right thing. And to have compassion when you don't really want to have compassion, it's kind of a struggle. You know, but we have to encourage one another. And we have to keep doing what we're doing, even when we don't know what we're doing. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Compassion comes from the heart.
Yeah, and when your heart gets hurt, it's a struggle. We have so people say all the time, you know, there's not enough compassion in the world. I think there is. You have to be the one to show the compassion, prove to people that it's still in the world.
Amen.
And it's still out there. Right? It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, it should be. You know, it should be easy to show compassion to people. The problem is we're human and we suck. And so it's a struggle for people to step back and look and realize that the world needs compassion.
Amen.
You know, we have
You know, compassion can be when you're driving. It's like, I'm not putting the focus on me, it's on God, because God works through me. But when I see an ambulance, it's like, Lord, be with whoever's in that ambulance. And somebody riding down the road, or even on a freeway. I've seen people ride on the freeway on their bicycles. It's like, Lord, please keep them safe. So it's, you know, it doesn't even have to be actually doing things. It's just at the thought, your thought of compassion for others. You don't have to act. You can even just talk it. You know.
Amen.
wait, are you not supposed to ride your bicycle on the freeway?
That's not saying.
No.
When did that happen?
California.
I've seen it.
I'll pack my saddlebag.
Yeah, I totally agree with Letha. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Just a moment in time where, well, you send out that good thought, or you know, it doesn't take much to uplift somebody or to turn their day around with a little compassion. Say hello, right? You look nice today.
Wait, thank you.
Oh, handsome. And so, yeah, see, little things, right?
Teach them, we already know.
And it comes from, if it comes from the heart, and people feel it, they hold on to that. I think that I know for Inside Out, what we're doing is the right thing.
Yes.
And it's a tough thing, right? People get irritated and frustrated, and those aren't the fruits, right? We need patience and kindness and
Love.
and love. And love, there's my shining star right there. So it's,
We don't like division in the body either, you know? So even if somebody hurts us, you know, you have to put that aside, because you don't want somebody, it's like, somebody hurt me a while back, and it's like, man. But I didn't want the division, because I didn't want to be uncomfortable seeing that person coming in, and I didn't want that person to be uncomfortable to come in. So I had to lay that all down, forgive, and I still love that person, you know, and love conquers all. That's all I'm gonna say on that part.
Amen.
I'm feeding you.
Oh, yeah. That's good, because I'm hungry. This was kind of, you know, Letha and I, well, Karen sent me a text saying, hey, somebody needs to speak on Saturday, send Dale a message if you want to do it. I said, okay, sure. And then Letha talks to Dale, and Dale says, well, Tom's going to do it, but you can both do it. And so,
Here you are.
right. And I said, well, what do you want to talk about? And she had the music concept, right?
Part, yeah.
And again, the word compassion has been floating around. And so we said, well, let's let the Holy Spirit lead us.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, it has.
And that's kind of where we're at. That's what's happening. So it's, you're feeding me, and oh, it just left. I had it.
Just got full.
So we do a Q&A this time?
Yeah, we could do a question, or not Q&A, questions.
Or
if any-
comments? Like, what's your
comments.
view on compassion? Anybody?
Yeah, if you have any story that you have, you know, that something's happened to you.
I do.
Yeah,
All right, what's your name?
Jesse Cakes.
Welcome.
Hey, just recently I've been going to NA and AA meetings. You know, I'm 6 weeks clean, doing real good. I got my tokens the other night. My housing application has been sent off, so it's just a matter of time that I hear back from them. Arches is saying they're gonna get me in the HR program. You know, everything's just been opening up,
amen.
been overwhelming. I can't stop smiling. My cheeks are hurting like constantly. I feel like I'm getting like wrinkles right here from smiling so much. But it's really just been like, I feel like I've been blessed, and I try to like go out, and if I see somebody down, I try to bring them back up
Amen.
the best I can. I run into a lot of friends out there. Even though I'm clean, I still see them, they're struggling, and I try to put my hand out as much as I can, but
Amen.
it's up to them if they want to take it.
Right?
Amen. Choice.
I have a lot of love for a lot of people out there. Some of them, they need a lot more help than we can imagine. The stuff that's getting passed around out there, it's not very pretty. I see a lot of people that's trying to get sores on their bodies and everything. It's not a pretty sight. But I don't let that affect me at all. I try to help them as much as I can, but if you can't help yourself,
Right.
Right, absolutely.
and lately I've been doing a lot for myself, but I'm also putting it out there for others because I'm passing my positive feelings and everything I had to my friends. And a lot of them is like, I want to try what you're doing. I'm like, don't say it, just come along with me, some of the meetings I go to, my help, I also go to groups over at The Rock. There's a SMART group, there's a DDA that I go to over there. There's a lot of resources out there, and it's been helping me out, and I've been truly blessed lately. I just wanted to, say that compassion, what you guys said, it's been floating around. It's like a bug. Once you get it, you have to pass it along.
Contagious. It's contagious.
Yes.
You keep up the good work. That's good. It's a hard struggle.
only takes one person to get it started.
Right, right. Anybody else? I don't know.
We got like 20 minutes.
Right there.
Terry.
Yeah.
I'll share a little story. This week, Thursday morning, I was out working, doing some maintenance work on my truck, and my neighbor drove in the yard, and I looked to see who it was, and so he was on the phone. So I just went back to work, and so pretty quick he come up and he said, "Good morning," and I about jumped out of my skin. And he started apologizing. I said, "Oh, that's all right." I said, "It's a carryover from my childhood. My dad was pretty rough when I was young, and he didn't feel good. He worked hard. But I said, later on, when he gave his life to Christ, he really changed. And it made a big difference on my life, because as I went away, when I was a teenager and I'd come back home, I could see a spiritual growth in him. And I grew very close to my dad. He said, "Oh, I wish my dad would have changed." So he told me a story about when he was about 11 years old, 10 or 11. His dad whipped the kids pretty hard, and he whipped his wife too. And he said this one time, she had used some of the seed for tortillas or something, and he just really beat her hard, his wife. And so there was another time he went and got the rope, whipped her, and so he was very close, and he seen that he was going to whip her, and he said, "You know, now this is just a little kid, 10, 12 years old." He said, "She didn't do anything to deserve that. I want you to whip me instead." And he looked at him up and down, and he said he took off. Years later, his mother told him that he never touched her again. He said that he would come up there holding the rope and be ready to hit, but he never did. And he'd turn off and go away. You know, one action of love. And I couldn't help but thinking, you know, Jesus took my whipping because he loves me. And what a change the love that he showed for his mother made in the family.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. We need more of that. And those are the stories we need to hold on to. Not so much the stories, it's just the action of love.
Right.
If you show it, it's kind of contagious. You want it to be contagious. Not like coronavirus or anything, but you want it to be contagious.
It'll block it.
Yeah. When you see somebody struggling, or you see somebody that has been taking a hit, you know, time after time, it shakes their foundation a little bit. And when we see that happening, we need to take time to let that person know that he or she is not alone, that there are people with compassion, with love, and reaffirm, you know, let them know they're doing the right thing. Help fill their bucket back with compassion. You know, I know the last 2 weeks, we've seen some things going on that are a little disturbing. And in the same period of time, we've seen people get housed, right? I just helped Jeff and Julie and Angela get in their new spot, which is exciting. And the way that worked with them was, I call it quick as oatmeal, right? It was crazy quick. They had, I think it happened within 3 weeks, right? Was it 3 weeks? Yeah. And so that just, it's unheard of. I don't know, we keep praying for you, bro. That's why I said it's quick as oatmeal, it doesn't happen. It's a rarity. I don't know what happened.
Sometimes you get stuck in the oatmeal.
Sometimes you do get stuck in the oatmeal.
It's too thick.
Yeah.
So we just won't lose hope, Mike. And we'll pray for you.
Do we have any more compassion thoughts, stories? We still have a little time.
Well,
Where? You want to come up? Yeah. We can bring you the mic.
you want me to bring in the microphone?
Well, my story of compassion is when I first came to this church. I was lost. I lost everything. Coming to this church helped me a lot. Just on March 3rd, March 4th was the anniversary of my mother's death. I took it the hardest because she taught me compassion. She taught me love. To be trustful. Don't ever give up on our Creator. So my story is, when I haven't come back yet because I finally got my van back. But I will be coming back soon, but I'm still looking for housing, and I still pray for housing. And I'm trying to have compassion for my son, my oldest, because he's on heroin.
Oh no.
And I can't help him anymore.